What were you just doing?
I was centering myself.
Oh, God.
She was harnessing her chi, Todd.
Oh, my God. I had to...
Do you like? Do you prefer woo-saw?
I did my shamanistic
too.
astrology last night and realized I have to center myself before
love that
taking
you-
any big leaps.
Shamanistic astrology?
This is a real thing.
What's your sign?
You don't know anything about shamanistic astrology
clearly
based upon
not.
what you just asked. Because there are you have 9 different signs, and it's based upon
that's bad.
So my mom is in, we can't talk about this.
Okay.
This is okay, yeah.
Welcome to the Horror Virgin, episode 0.
It's a huge thing.
We just
I
talked
feel
about-
like we already lost listeners.
Yeah,
it's
I thought
only
this
been
was a
like
horror
it's only
podcast.
been
Why
like
is it talking about
60 seconds.
shamanistic astrology? Who are these people I'm listening to?
I'm Clint.
I'm Todd.
I'm Jennifer.
Welcome. So
To the very first episode.
the very first mini episode. Yeah, not really.
It's like
It's episode 0.
Episode
So it's not the first
Semi-episode.
episode. This is
Right.
a prequel to
Right.
the first episode.
What you're listening to right now
The beginning.
never happened.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I am a huge horror buff. And
Yes, me too.
I wanted an excuse to just talk about movies on a podcast. I really, really wanted to do a genre show where we only talked about horror movies. So,
And I never wanted to do that ever.
nope, ever.
I hate horror movies.
So Todd is a little bitch when it comes to horror
I
movies.
just don't like them.
He
You just haven't
has
watched
a-
the right one yet.
I don't think that's
There's
true.
a horror movie for everyone.
See, so when my girlfriend
You
of
just don't
5 years broke
understand
up with
them.
me, my
Oh,
mom
we're
was
here
like,
already.
you just haven't found the right one.
We're here
It's
already.
It's not true about horror movies either.
I thought it'd be at least 10 minutes in before he mentioned his breakup.
Is this why you hate horror movies because of Girl?
No.
He hates
no,
horror movies because he
no.
has a lot of trauma in his life.
Right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well,
relationship
don't we
trauma.
all?
yeah.
If I could just
So-
get my girlfriends to stop
Horror
cheating on
helps
me.
you through your trauma.
Oh,
That's
none
why.
of this is true. None of this is true. This is
Let
all.
me quote
This
a
is
little
a
man I like.
tissue of lies. That's how I phrase it. The three of us are together because
Right.
we are going to take Todd through the encyclopedia of horror movies.
Yay.
Some good, some bad.
I'm so mad that we're doing this.
Oh, I
No,
know.
you're going to love it. It's going to be
No,
awesome.
I hate all
it's
of you
gonna change your
already.
life.
So
Yeah.
if you're wondering who the horror virgin is,
Yeah,
it is
not
not a
me.
character in a movie that we are watching. It is not Jennifer. It is Todd.
So why
It
do you
is-
guys like horror movies? Let me ask that
Oh, that's
I
a
don't.
good question.
I don't understand why anybody likes horror movies.
Horror movies are the best.
They're like
Okay.
they're like my version of roller coasters.
Yes.
Yeah, they're just because I hate actual roller coasters.
No, roller coasters are awesome
And
too.
you call me a virgin.
I'm not a roller coaster virgin, sir, but I am not a fan, and I don't know what was your. Let's talk about the history
Sure.
of like how did I get into horror movies? How did you get into horror movies? Why Todd is a little bitch, and
You were a dick.
there was something exciting about sort of watching these movies when I was a kid growing up.
Yeah, it's
hiding
like-
from my parents because they didn't want us watching them.
You hid from your parents to
Not
watch
literally
these movies?
hiding from my parents, but I would wait for them to go to bed.
Yeah.
And then
I would like record them in the middle of the night and then watch them later.
Jennifer,
so
what-
listeners, yeah.
What is the earliest memory you have of watching horror movies? Do you remember the first horror
I
movie you
do.
watched? You do.
Okay, so the first movie that ever scared the bejesus out of me was the Care Bears movie, and
What?
with the book with the face in it. And I was probably like
What?
4.
Hey, the
no,
care,
but I have
the
a
care stare is for real.
No, seriously
It's
though, I
freaky.
have a memory of that, of being like terrified of it. And then when I went over to my friend's house in
That's
elementary
insane.
school, don't judge me.
No judgment, but it's insane.
Well, I was probably like 4. I went over to my friend's house and she had older siblings, so she always had all the good stuff. And so we watched Fright Night, and it was awesome. And I was probably like
shit.
7 or 8, I think. And it just scared the shit out of me. And I'm sure my parents were furious that I watched it. But
The
That was
non-Colin
the
Farrell one.
beginning.
Let's just make that
I don't know what
clear.
Fright Night
Jennifer is not 15 years old.
I liked, oh, yeah. It was the old one. It was awesome. And I also heard Living on a Prayer for the first time right after I watched it.
Wait, Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer?
Yes, so
Oh,
those songs,
shit.
that song in that movie, I thought
Yeah.
it was the end credits or something. I don't know. But I was like, yeah, they are living on a prayer, man. It was... So, yeah.
So you became a fan after the first time? Or
Oh,
did
yeah,
it take?
'cause I was
did
like,
it take?
this
Because
is
I heard it takes
cool.
a few times to get.
Yeah, I hear it hurts the
No,
first time for
it's-
most women.
I mean, you're not doing it right then.
I clearly am not.
Damn.
So what was your first time like, Clint?
My
Lot of
first
crying?
time
A lot of
was,
fighting?
my first time
Lot of cry
involved
sex?
a bunch of boys. I was at a slumber party. I would say I was in 4th grade, maybe. I'm not quite sure. It was high school. No, I'm kidding. And we waited till the parents went to sleep. And I don't know if you guys remember this. Do you guys remember USA Up All Night?
Yes.
Yes.
And Elvira. They only had like 3 hosts.
I was Elvira for Halloween like 7 times.
It was either Elvira.
I would love to see pictures. Oh, never mind. I'm backing up.
I mean, I tried to be Elvira, but
It was either Elvira or like Gilbert Gottfried. Those were the only 2 people I remember.
Wow, the Aflac duck.
Yeah. So USA only had the rights to precious few movies, and they would either show the Child's Play sequels or they would show the Problem Child movies. Usually when Godfrey was on, because those are like the only movies he's been in. My first memory, and I could be wrong about this, but my first memory was watching Child's Play 2 and 3 cut on...
Because it was on like network TV.
USA Today. And also, now why were we watching USA Up All Night? Because back then, that was the only time we could see sex ads on TV. Like or not actual sex ads, but like the really cheesy phone sex operators.
Yeah.
And as a kid, if you didn't have HBO, that was all we got. And so when we were like in 4th or 5th grade, we wait till like 10 o'clock and it would start and it would get kinky.
With all
on
the boys
TV.
at the slumber party.
Not at the slumber party, but on TV it got kinky. So yeah, Chucky was my first sort of introduction to horror movies. And I don't remember being scared, but I remembered...
Because that's not a scary movie.
Yeah, but I remember the shock factor of like I had never seen a horror movie before. We're going to get to the Chuckies, by the way, on this show. That is going to happen.
Under protest.
That was it. It was off to the races. I remember the first one I legally saw in theaters. I think my dad snuck me into a couple of them. We watched...
That's a good dad right
I Know
there.
What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, yeah.
It was like when I started getting
Scream?
into high school, I guess we started watching that. So Scream 2 had a huge influence on like the Scream movies, because I remember watching Scream on VHS, and then the first memory I have of like somebody buying a ticket for me and not worrying about being kicked out was Scream 2 opening night.
Wasn't that like Courtney Cox and...
Yeah.
You mean like all the Scream movies? Oh yeah, you have
never
a long
seen
way to
them.
go.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
All the failed
Todd.
TV stars.
But I remember...
not really, because they were doing
remember,
well.
like seeing
Friends
her
was on
trailer.
at the time, yeah.
Yeah.
So did you not see Scream in the theaters?
I didn't see the first one in theaters. It was
that
making the
one-
rounds on VHS, and that movie fucked me up. Like that movie.
I love that movie.
Yeah.
That's in my top 5.
Yeah.
What?
So
Yes, that's a good movie.
the first Scream. Have you seen any? You haven't seen any of the Screams. We'll get to you in a second. You've seen
take
like
your
2 horror movies.
Oh,
So-
I saw that in the theaters, I think, like right after I got my driver's license. That might
Okay.
have been the first one I saw in theaters.
Okay. Yeah, that was after Scream 2. I saw just about every horror movie I could in theaters.
Yeah, me too.
Right.
Fuck-
Chucky
fuck
was
that.
out around the same time. Chucky coming back from my childhood.
Okay, I did not see everyone that came out.
Yeah, just the looks you guys give me every time I say
Standard.
Chucky is just, you
I'm
know.
sorry.
I actually
I
have seen
shouldn't
one
judge
of the
because I
Chuckies.
haven't seen any.
You
of them.
and I did.
Yeah, I saw
on the previous podcast.
Chucky 3?
Chucky 3, because
And
we
it was
did
like it was a comedy. It wasn't scary.
That's what those are meant for, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But
I've
what
seen no other ones though.
okay.
So if they like, I understand with some like Gremlins 2 was
The new
sort of
bench.
funny, but like I understand that like a common thing is in horror is they'll start out scary and then by like the 5th one they're in space.
They get Leprechaun.
Oh, yeah,
and
Leprechaun.
Jason.
Yeah,
Jason also went
I've
to
never
space.
seen that. Yeah,
Jason X is something to behold.
yeah, okay.
But it also has one of my favorite kills in all of horror.
Which
True story.
is?
True story. Which is it is the cryo freeze kill. So toward the beginning of the movie, they're on a spaceship and cryo freeze exists in the future. And Jason takes someone, dips this guy's head into the cryo freeze. His head immediately freezes. He pulls it back out and shatters his brain onto the table. And it is
wow.
amazeballs.
That does not sound fun to watch.
That was the first time
to
I jerked
me.
off at a horror movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
True
can
story.
only get so hard, Jason.
That's a total lie.
Well,
It was Scream 2.
Scream 2 is good, not as good as Scream.
my first horror movie was at a sleepover as well.
Now, how many horror movies have you seen? Because I mean, you've seen like two or three, right?
So
Like
if
you
we're
haven't-
if we're counting things like Chucky 3 that are really comedies.
I mean, I guess you have to count that in the horror genre, though.
you do, because we're going to be.
'Cause where else
doing
would it
that
go?
on our
Sure.
show. Yeah.
That's fine. But even if I count Chucky 3, I think let me count them. Blair Witch Project, the first one.
Is that the very first one you saw? Like
No.
very first horror movie ever? Okay,
No.
what was the first one you saw?
The Omen.
The Omen. Okay, and how old were you when you saw that? Like what were the circumstances?
I was probably
of-
second grade. I was very young.
Okay, and this was at home. I'm guessing.
No, I was at a sleepover and it was fucking terrifying.
Was that the story you were about to tell us?
Yeah.
Before
Sorry.
Clint
Yeah,
interrupted you?
before you
I'm so
interrupted
sorry.
me to tell me to tell the story.
My bad.
I mean, it really isn't like a great story, but like it is very.
He wants to pull the story out of
when
you.
when you guys were talking about your story, I was like,
Were you jealous?
I have the exact same story, but like
You went in a different
direction.
But he's like a normal person.
So I watched The Omen, and I grew up super religious. So like anything that had to do anything with religion and like supernatural shit really terrified me. That movie just fucked me up. Like I didn't sleep. I still don't sleep well, and like
Because of The Omen?
Well, I mean, no,
Just in general?
It's mainly just because my life is in shambles. but yeah, like I was very scared of that movie, and I did not, in truth, sleep very well for quite a few weeks after that. It was
I didn't
terrifying.
sleep well after watching Fright Night for a long time. And honestly,
It's
I slept
terrifying.
with my lights on throughout high school.
Oh, I was scared of the dark till mid-20s.
Yes, I still sleep with the TV on.
Yeah, I do too. Like I watch Netflix on my phone to fall
Not the
asleep
only
because
one.
I scared.
I don't know how you guys do that because I have nightmares about whatever's on.
But yeah, so like that's sort of my story. It's very similar to you guys, but like I remember it was like Halloween. It was right around that time. It probably wasn't exactly Halloween, but it was like right around that time. We watched The Omen, and then we were outside and it was dark, and my brothers just scared the shit out of me for like the next forever. Like they would just like jump out of bushes or like be behind a door and be like bah! And like just jump out and scare me. So like I hate jump scares. Like I'll tell you this story. I've told you this story before. I think this is when you were like, oh, we should make you watch scary movies. I went and saw Independence Day with my brother.
Oh, I do remember this. Yeah.
So in Independence Day, I know you guys are like, what? It's not a scary movie, and it's not.
No.
But when Will Smith punches the alien in the face and says,
to
"Welcome to Earth," and then drags him to the autopsy, and then Data is cutting him open.
Yeah.
And
that's
they're
a
like,
scary scene.
There's
It
like
is.
that
Like
glass
his face
room
is against the glass.
Yeah. So at that point, I have my
scary.
foot up on the chair in front of me, and it's a pretty empty theater because it's before Nipper's Corner got torn down.
Oh, boo.
So
That's where I saw Scream 2, by the way.
Yeah,
I saw a lot
of movies there.
We
Anyway,
used to climb up the big hill behind it.
oh, I love
and make
that
out.
hill. I used to make out back there all the time.
Yeah.
Oh.
Whoa,
Wait
Jennifer.
wait a
Jennifer.
minute here.
Did we make out back there?
Were you guys married before?
Hang on. I thought I just met you last week.
Just for all of our
Did we
listeners.
You met her
Right.
tongue
Nipper's
20
Corner
years
Theater?
ago.
Kidding. This is all of a joke.
Yeah. So anyway, I had my foot up on the chair in front of me.
Because you're a dick.
And I leaned. Well, there was no one there. It was
Okay.
literally me and my brother, and I think two other people that were sitting up further. But I wasn't. My foot wasn't on a person's chair. And I leaned over to my brother, and I was like, "Hey, he's gonna throw Data against the glass." So I knew it was coming. But when he did it, I jerked so hard, and I probably yelled "shit," and I broke the chair in front of me.
Oh, like actually had to go tell them you broke the chair.
I didn't tell him shit.
Yeah.
I just left after
That's
the
a
movie
very
was
embarrassing.
over.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't admit that.
Yeah, so like I left, and
You know the jump scare in Independence Day? What?
Yeah. So yeah, that's sort of how I react to jump scares. I mean, you guys made me watch Annihilation, and I had a very similar.
You scream like a little bitch, yeah.
yeah.
And there
So-
was another, but to be fair, there was another male in the audience that screamed as well, and you guys,
And then the
just
theater-
kindred spirits.
The whole theater laughed at us.
Yep.
But that's part of why horror is so awesome too, is like
Yeah.
screaming, getting scared, and laughing at people.
So, do you like seeing it with crowds? I love seeing it
It
with crowds
depends
more
on the
than-
movie. So
Okay.
when I saw Get Out, that's the best movie to see with crowds because everybody would scream and then everybody would laugh and people would cheer and it was awesome. But it depends on the movie because sometimes a crowd will ruin it. you
So
know?
if I had to count how many scary movies I've seen, The Omen, Pet Cemetery, and I saw those that
They're
same
remaking
night.
Pet Cemetery
Fuck
today.
you, I'm
Pet
not
Sematary.
watching it.
Pet Cemetery is still freaky.
So
Yeah.
I watched both those movies that same night. So it was back
You
to
saw a lot of children
You're
get
just
murdered
fucked.
that night
Yeah.
on screen. Yeah.
And I was a
And you were close to
child.
their age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. And there was this time like I was told to go, you know what?
No. We
This
gotta,
is like-
let's get it out.
It's like therapy
Let's
shit
get
right
it
here,
out.
guys.
Let's
So,
get
like,
it out.
At
here
this
for you.
point, this is probably like a year after I told my family, I came out as a terrified little bitch.
Oh, okay. I didn't know where that was going.
And I think because I came out as that, my brothers tortured me.
Ah.
So
Showed
they
weakness.
Yeah, but they got my dad involved. Check it out.
Oh.
So we were hanging out, and my dad was like, "Hey, go get something for me. It's in my room." And his room light switch was like deep into his room. It wasn't like right by the door.
Well, that's just weird.
And it was a very weird setup. So I walk in. It's completely dark because it's night outside, and my brothers were in the room, and they attacked me. And
what does that mean?
Pitch. So I walk in, the door's open, right? And I walk across the room. It's a pretty decent sized room. It's the master bedroom. So I walk across, and the door just closes behind me. I didn't know they were in there.
Are they wearing masks?
No.
Are they hiding?
It was a little bit. Well, it may not have been a little bit worse, but they had like glow in the dark like gel that they had put on their like clothes and their face, and it was
okay. What kind of fucked up thing
terrifying.
is this? What kind of family is
my brother didn't ever do anything like
it was
this
terrifying.
Okay. So what do they do to you exactly? Were they like
honestly they
pretending to attack you like wrestling type shit?
Yeah, it was wrestling type shit,
so
but it was
no
terrifying.
male rape happening here.
No.
Okay, just making sure.
I wasn't
Just making
Catholic,
sure.
but no, they like
It's your brothers too,
they like
right?
held me down. It was the worst. So and
I bet that would be
To this
terrifying.
day, if I can't move my arms, I freak out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
With you.
He should not watch The Descent. We were just talking
my
about
God,
that.
it's
You would not be able to. Well, we're going to build you stamina. It's all about stamina.
That's what
we're going to build you up.
the
a
ladies in
little
my
bit.
life tell me.
We've got a plan.
All right.
She
well,
probably has one too.
And speaking of,
it's funny that you say she probably has one too, because I don't have a lady in my life.
so speaking of the plan,
Yeah.
because we want you to have a little well-rounded education, we're gonna alternate a little bit. So
Right.
1 week we're gonna do a classic, like let's say Elm Street 1. The next recording we might do something like Dr. Giggles.
Right.
The only rule that we're implementing here is we're sticking with theatrical. As long as it had a theatrical run,
Right.
we can watch it. We're
Now-
not going to get into straight to D. There are other podcasts
With
that
maybe one
cover
or
all
two
this.
exceptions.
Okay.
Well, you want to?
I'm also going to demand some movies occasionally.
And some
But
of them
is
are going to
it?
be
Can,
like
can
straight
we
to
also
DVD.
include like Netflix as a
Yes.
theatrical release?
Yes.
Just because it's not
Yes.
technically a theatrical release, but
Correct.
it is a wide
And it does not
release.
have to be theatrical in the U.S.
I would agree with those rules. I would
God,
agree with those
I
rules.
hate you.
So yeah, because Asia's all kinds of fucked
Yeah.
up. We're
Oh,
gonna get into
Australia.
some of
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start off with what?
We are going to start off with The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Arguably the movie that started it all,
yes,
in a very real big
the most
way.
successful horror movie of all time, financially.
if you
at
adjust for
least.
inflation.
Adjusted for inflation.
Because
That's
it
the
was-
only. That's
it
the only
was-
real list.
Came out in the 70s, right? So it made like $80, but today that's worth like $100 million.
It was a lot. It was a
Yeah.
lot.
And
Yeah.
it was like a cultural thing too, you know?
I mean, I wasn't alive then.
There's
but I'm
like
sure
a
that's
lot of studies written about how, because it was The Exorcist and The Omen and Rosemary's Baby all came out within 2 or 3 years of each other.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
So like the era and like all of the hippies and all the old people were afraid that their parents were, or their kids were
I
getting
wonder.
possessed.
And this is like not a conversation for this podcast, but
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that happening in the 70s set off the satanic panic in the 80s.
Yeah, probably.
You ever wonder that
probably.
shit?
Probably.
So like,
There
yeah,
are a lot
okay.
of smart people who have written a lot of stuff about that.
And I'm not.
I'm not one of
them.
those
Yeah.
either, and I haven't read a lot of it.
Yeah, I don't
But-
like to read.
I do, and I plan to read a lot of these books.
I
so
feel
Do
like
it.
you're going to be
if
the
you want
the
to be a bookster
research-
and read with me,
you're
Yeah.
going to be the
Yay.
research
So the way
expert.
this is
I am
gonna
okay
work.
with that.
Yeah.
I'll put
But-
on my glasses.
Yeah. So
But
just
the way
to
this
clarify,
is going to work is
yeah.
we're going to do 2 movie episodes a month, right? And in between those, we're going to do like a mini episode where we do like
this one right
corrections.
now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
and
talk
yes.
about the last show. We'll talk about the show coming up, and
And we'll give you what the next movie is going to be and stuff like that.
Yep. And so we are the 3 hosts, but we are going to have special guests come in throughout. And also, we should also clarify, and this is really important, we are not going to be doing commentary of these movies. We're actually just, we're not a fan of that.
We're not reviewing them either.
No.
We're not reviewing them either. We are going to watch the movies on our own, watch Todd watch these movies.
And we will spoil them.
We will
too.
spoil them.
Yeah.
Major spoiler alert. We're aiming for like an hour episode. If we go a little bit over, that's fine.
Right.
But
So you should watch them before you listen.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And you should know by now if you like us or not. And
Which one's your favorite? It's me.
so, yeah, we'll see you guys back
No.
on episode 1.
We have to talk about
After.
why horror movies are so awesome.
Okay.
I'm going to leave everyone with inspiration,
Okay.
and especially Todd.
Bring
Horror
us
movies
home.
are the greatest because they show you who you are and they show you what you care about.
Okay, so what you just
Damn.
said is, Todd, you're a bitch.
No, I said, Todd, there's just so much. So when you're a girl and people know that you like horror movies, people think that you're a witch or that something has gone terribly wrong in your life. And they always ask me, why do you like horror? Why do you like horror? So I've thought a lot about this. So I'm going to tell everybody all the thoughts that I have. So horror movies are awesome because they make you think. They make you think, what would I do if I were in this position? What do I care about? Like, think about the scary stories that everyone tells. If I were going to die tomorrow, what would I do today? If my house were burning down, what would I save? So those are really scary things, and that makes you think about what you care about. It also prepares you for like the terrible things that happen in everyone's lives.
Well, the things that happen in our own lives don't normally compare to what's the extremities of what's going on the screen. So,
but they could, and I think there are certain types of people like me, like super neurotic people who like think through all of this shit. And every time I walk past a road, I'm like, what if I fall in front of a car? And so things like that happen. And so Stephen King, the greatest person ever, said that the horror movies, like we create these horrors to prepare ourselves for the real horrors that happen. So you think through all of these things and you put yourself in that position. And then at the end, everything's fine. And that's when it comes back together. And there's like a euphoria. It's like when you get off the roller coaster and everybody is fine, you feel really good. And you're like, yeah, that was awesome. I just did that. But until you go to that level, until you see the really scary stuff and you like get moved and you like really forget where you are and you're just terrified, you don't get to have that experience at the end. That's why horror is the greatest.
That was kind of amazing.
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I vehemently disagree with you.
We're going to help you, Todd.
Yeah.
So
what did I say? Omen, Pet Sematary, Blair Witch Project, the
I've
original.
got so many thoughts about Pet Sematary.
Chucky 3.
So that's about it. You've seen
Gremlins
less than
2?
5.
Gremlins 2
The New
not
Batch
a
is not a
horror
horror movie. I don't think so.
You don't think that counts?
No.
Maybe.
All right. Well, so maybe
If you're
that.
10.
I guess.
Annihilation, if that counts as a horror
Sci-fi.
movie.
Not really. No.
So I've seen.
Look, okay,
seen less
the
than
House
five.
of
4.5. I've seen
Suspense
4.5.
has many rooms, and they overlap
Sure.
a lot of times.
Sure.
Yeah. Okie doke.
And on that note, it will.
We will see you guys after we watch The Exorcist.
Yes.
Episode 1.
I'm not fucking looking forward to this.
Stay tuned.
Bye.
If Todd comes back.